Hey, Mike. Sorry about that, guys.
Why don't you guys pick the first day of snow next time?
How are you doing? What's going on?
Hey guys, how are you?
This is my friend Cal. This is my friend Johnny.
Hey Johnny, how are you guys doing?
Good to
Do you have more or no?
Oh yeah, the camera guy. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you again.
How are you, Johnny?
Hey, good to see you again.
Hi,
Good to
Tom.
see you.
How are you doing?
So Todd, I'll have you take it away a little bit as far as maybe some of your more specific background, and then kind of what you see is going on here with property management.
Yeah, I've been a real estate broker since 1990. I got in when I was in my 20s, working for the company that developed around here, and got a taste of development. And then I went into the building industry. I was an executive in the building industry for a decade. Then I exited the building industry, and immediately, as soon as I did, the downturn came.
So downturn like 08, like
08, yeah. 09, and so I decided that we're going to go into all cash and foreclosures, cash deals and foreclosures. So I started renovating foreclosures, and next thing you know, the demand was through the roof. And then I said, well, we started to use other property management companies, which was not good. And then we decided, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. Let's start our own property management company. That way we have control of our own destiny on the management side. And I did that. We now really just do our own properties and a few of our investors, and work with Michael and Tom on some of their relationships. We don't go out and market too. So I think we have around 600 properties, somewhere in that neighborhood. Very manageable number. So what's going on with the current market since the downturn? Obviously, the moratorium on foreclosures and on evictions has had dramatically impacted the market. Right now, we're seeing the lowest number of foreclosures come through the sales each month in Marion County, which is Indianapolis proper, that we've seen ever in history. And now with the moratorium lifted, it's starting to ease up. Well, all those people that were in foreclosure, all those banks and so on that were in a foreclosure process, have to now, all that's expired, and all the attorneys have to re-precipice the deals. I mean, it takes about 4 or 5 months to get those back into the process. So the inventory is still very tight. I think you will see a little bit of a loosening of the inventory into first quarter. So we'll see a few more foreclosures come through. But keep in mind that everybody's got equity now. They didn't have equity then. So the people that know something know that they can sell for more than what they owe and find some benefit in that.
Right.
So there won't be as many by any stretch of the imagination as last downturn, but there will still be some that come through the process that will increase the volume on that side. The prices have gone up tremendously, but as Michael pointed out, the rents have also followed along pretty well as too. So it's still a good market to invest in. Still one of the best markets in the country to invest in. Your sale price rent ratios are still pretty solid here in Indianapolis compared to other markets. So.
Yeah, we also do a lot of the similar rehab that because we have the benefit of seeing how our rehab lasts. We don't just put, as they say, lipstick on a pig. Is this flooring beneficial? Well, we can tell you, because 2 or 3 years later, we know that it blows up or it doesn't blow up. But as usual, Tom, what will we do in a house that on a standard rehab?
Roofs, of course. We find a lot of them. The HVAC furnaces and air conditioners are old. Almost always replace hot water heaters and bathrooms. We like to get away from all of the galvanized piping and usually replace the tubs to make it functional, and so you don't have problems next week. Those are the major places that we're looking: roofs, plumbing, electrical. We're upgrading a lot of the older homes that only had 60 amp service. We upgrade them to 100 amp service.
A lot of the builders that built, I think there was 3 main builders that built a lot of Indianapolis. You can probably speak to this more than anyone else. And the floor plans are very common and similar.
Yeah, National Homes built a ton of homes in the Indianapolis market back in the day, and they usually built a ranch with 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Occasionally you do 3 1.5 or 4 1.5, but that was commonplace for the majority of the rentals inventory stock in the market that really performs, quite frankly, as well as anything, are the 3 ones.
Right. So don't get hung up on getting 2 bathrooms or something like that, because it's just not stock. That's not what we see around here.
It's not the tenants. It's not like the tenants won't look at a place because it only has 1 bathroom, because that's what they're used to.
Right.
Yeah, we saw about 5 to 6 houses yesterday, went around the neighborhood, and we'll kind of do the same today. I guess property management wise, we have a few more questions.
Let's do that, because I have a lunch meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do that.
Yeah, so property management wise, what specific questions do you have? Do you want me to run through?
I would say, it would be his first property.
Okay.
We always tell him there's a tenant in place, it's vetted by you guys. The lease are usually a year long, hopefully 2 sometimes.
Yeah.
Potentially they could be 13 to 15 months because of just, we don't want it to fall around the winter time.
Yeah, wintertime we typically, like right now, we're doing 18-month leases to get it out of the holiday season for turn next year. But,
so how do you vet your tenants? Want to find
sure. So we go through, we use Propertyware, which is our operating software program that we use. And if we load, it's very comprehensive program. I'm sure you all are familiar. But when we load a property in there to market it, it shoots it out to 25 different high, volume websites for renters. And so it gets it out there. We don't have any problems getting eyeballs on it. Then we use Rently, which is a self-showing system that they have to put in to verify their identity and do all that, so that they can go view the properties. So if somebody's working, a weird shift or whatever, and only has 9 o'clock on a Sunday, they can still go see a property. But as far as vetting goes, we're pretty strict with our vetting. I want somebody that's has a good history of tenancy, that has a good history of paying. I don't give a crap if they pay their phone bill, but they damn sure better pay their rent every month and have a history of doing so and have the income to be able to pay. So those are the things that we look for. But we do criminal background checks. We do, we do credit checks. We do all of that. We do job verification. We do rent history verifications. So we're pretty thorough in our vetting.
Being from California, evictions are tough.
Yes, they are.
Squatters, 6 months at least.
Yep.
20 to 60.
What a nightmare. Yeah. California is very tough. This is a landlord-friendly state when we're not in a moratorium, which we're not anymore. So our evictions are not nearly as difficult. They're sometimes 30 days.
Yeah.
So we don't have a ton of evictions, and that's for one reason. Because we vet properly, that's 2 reasons. And then second of all, we work with tenants, because a lot of these people, let's face it, they're living paycheck to paycheck. Their car breaks down. They have no choice but to get their car fixed. Then they don't have enough money to, so they get to work. Now they don't have enough money to pay their rent. So we work with people on life events like that. We'll say, okay, we understand what happened. We don't like it. We don't accept it. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to take payment next Friday when you get paid. We're going to take a payment the next Friday when you get paid. To get people back on track is a lot cheaper than doing a turnover on a property. And then they're very loyal to you after that. Oh my God, you helped me out of that situation. They're the best. So,
and everything is electronic. So tenants can pay online, or they can pay at any Chase Bank.
Yep.
And so we prior to COVID, we've systematized things so we don't have human interaction. Not to be rude, but like, we don't need to be like the checks in the mail.
Right.
No, do you have a deposit at Chase Bank, yes or no? Because Chase closes at 5, by the way. You know, it's real simple, real simple.
And then as an investor, someone who buys, let's say 5 or 10 at a time, does the investor get statements? Is there a website that they can look at?
Oh yeah, on property where you'll get a login so that you can go in and see your activity and your statements at any time you want. And then each month you'll get, there'll be a monthly statement each month, and then annually you'll obviously have the ability to pull a statement for your taxes.
And then direct deposit to
Direct deposit.
Only one
That's the
bucket.
only thing we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the question you had where.
Yeah, we don't send out checks. It goes right into your account every month.
So what rent is due on the 1st, it's late on the 5th. If we don't have a rent by the 5th, do we send a 10-day letter?
Yep, we send a letter that's basically, it's called a pay or quit letter. It's something here legally, in order for us to even start an eviction process, if we ever get to that point, we have to do a 5-day pay or quit letter. So we'll send out a pay or quit letter. Then if we haven't heard from them by then we'll contact the owner and say, we're not getting any communication from these people. I'm going to probably want to file an eviction. And then if we file an eviction, then 15 days, after that's the earliest that we can legally technically file an eviction based on what our time frame on our lease is. So again, we almost always are able to communicate with the tenant and to say, hey, what happened? Where are we? How do we get back on track? And that is so much more valuable than going through an eviction process.
It's a win for all parties.
But now that said, we're not afraid of it. It's happened before.
No.
But it's also important to know what would be an approximate cost. Because you're dropping numbers with commas in them, right?
Yeah.
So what would be an approximate attorney cost for eviction?
Allison would be better to ask that as of late, but I think it's probably around a $400 process. Don't quote me on that. So
Yeah.
A little bit less than LA.
Yeah. California, 20.
Well, unless, of course, they don't move, they refuse to move out after the
It's
eviction,
possible.
and then you have to get a writ and go back with a sheriff,
Right.
and a sheriff's agreed upon or appointed moving company, then move out, they get out there and then move them out, they inventory all the property and then they move them out.
Okay, so we're looking at a month. A month, maybe a little over a month in terms of lost revenue.
Yeah, potentially, yeah, you'll potentially.
I think
But
we used to
again,
say,
the rarity,
I think we had my numbers aren't current because I haven't looked them up recently, but it was we have a 4% vacancy and about a 1% eviction. Now, as far as you getting paid, rent is due by the 1st, is late by the 5th, and then when do ACHs go out to investors?
ACHs go out by the 15th.
By the 15th. So the 15th of the current month. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we usually have talk to them a little bit about a not to exceed, which is in our leases.
You mean as far as repairs?
Yeah, repairs.
So you can elect, it's $400 in the lease, we go down to $200 because I have investors, like I have one guy in Canada that has 30 houses, he's never been here in his whole life, and he just says, just do whatever you need to do, right? But then we got people that are like, oh my God, they're watching every penny, and they're like, okay, I don't want it to go over $200 for any sort of repair without being notified. And that's fine too. We can do that as well. So anytime that there's a repair that's needed, we can either set it as a $200 or $400 notification.
And you'll see the repair in the statements.
Yeah.
There's a expense for the month and then a year to date, so you kind of track how much you've been collecting and all that.
Right, but I think we all try to set the houses up to have hopefully have as few repairs by doing the tile and by doing the vinyl plank flooring and by doing the PEX and by doing you're hopefully minimizing some of those expenses.
Yeah.
Here would be an issue though, if we had a burst pipe in the wintertime, you gotta stop the water,
Yeah.
or it's gonna ruin things and it's gonna cost you a lot more.
That's an emergency call. Anything that causes secondary damage or that endangers the health and safety of the tenant is considered an emergency call. So if they've got a water pipe burst and there's water, flooding through the house, I mean, we might try to reach you, but we're taking care of that before it ruins your house. Regardless. Same with heat. Heat, fire, water,
Right.
anything like that, we're moving. We have a 24-hour service on our end that shoots out work orders, and so we'll determine whether there are health or safety issues.
Yep.
What about rental increase?
Yeah, so now that's one of the things that we are tweaking right now is because we did self-renewing leases because so many people for years this market was pretty steady Eddie, and now it's really spiked. So we're going through now and doing renewals where we're actually going to and doing renewals every year, even if we don't hear from the owner or don't hear from the tenant. So that we'll say, hey, your house is coming up for renewal. The new rent is now. The old thinking was that if you've got a good tenant in there and they pay on time, they take good care of the property. You don't juice them up at the renewal period to scare them off because they've got the opportunity to move. But now you got to think about it harder because the rent has increased so much that it may or may not be worth the risk of really pushing that.
Right, and it's you guys that determine the rental increase.
Yeah,
the
we
owners
do.
Don't really. We rely on you guys.
Yeah, we do rent comps we have weekly meetings, and I'm doing rent comps every single week.
Yeah, that says a lot to the 4%, right?
Right.
Vacancy and all that stuff. You guys.
Right, but in 100 or 600 homes, whatever, is some of them might be the one that you just walked through is vacant.
Right.
Well,
it's new.
It's new though, but it's still vacant.
It's factored in.
It's factored in the 4%.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
What is the limitation legally speaking for rent increases?
There is not one.
Okay.
What's that?
The limitation for rent.
No,
There's no
Either at any level.
There's no rent control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. LA. Well.
But historically, I think Rusty used to say that LA is the most expensive. People are paying right around 50% of their income towards rent or something like that, or 45.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
That's correct. Yeah.
and that's not industry standard. We like to have people make 3 times the amount.
Yep.
So the rent's $1,000. They have to make at least $3,000. And also we're very cognizant and it's not our first rodeo. So are you living with your girlfriend or are you living with your boyfriend? And you're in Kim and his company, what happens when you guys break up?
Well, that,
you know what I mean? It's very standard.
Here's my rent reference. Well, then, our leasing agent actually goes so far as to look up the tax records of where that is and who they say they're renting from is the actual owner of the property, and then they do. Because they'll give you their Aunt Sally's phone number.
Right.
All the time it happens. So you got to dig a little deeper than the surface in order to make sure you're vetting them properly.
Right. And if we have 5 or 6 or 7 choices who want to rent the house, I really don't need you and your new girlfriend to go above what you think you can afford.
Both just started your jobs this year.
Yeah.
And we're living with your parents and have no rent reference.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Alright, you guys are taking off?
Let's get some lunch.
Yeah, sounds good.
Say hi to Christina for me.
I will, and then I'm going to hopefully be at your restaurant soon.
Yeah.
You guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
He's got my number, or contact me whenever you need.
When did Todd bring in the bed?
That's for his dog.
For you.
That's for the dog. Thank you. You too, brother. If you need anything, let me know.